and it's getting darker.
It's getting darker.
I'm turned right now. I've been waiting for this. Look at that.
Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from today's title, I will be sharing my story of my corneal ectopic pregnancy that resulted in me losing my right fallopian tube. I wanted to share my story because when I was in the hospital and a doctor gave me the news that I was experiencing a corneal ectopic pregnancy, and they was just giving me so much at once, I couldn't even process it. It was just a lot going on at the moment. I was like, let me go to YouTube and see if someone posted a video on this so I could kind of get my head in the game, because they were just throwing so much at me at once. I couldn't even process it. I kind of blanked out because I'm like, I'm really about to lose my baby. It was just a lot going in my head at once. So I went straight to YouTube and I could not find anything. No one did a video on corneal ectopic pregnancy. It was probably like 2 videos that doctors did, but they talked about it briefly. And they only said that it only happens in 2% of women. And I'm like, I need to know, like, what's the road to recovery? I need to know just something. And it was literally nothing. I was like, hey, why not share my story? Maybe there's someone out here that is experiencing this or who have experienced a corneal pregnancy, and you know, you just probably feel like you're alone, and it's just a lot when you're on that journey to trying to conceive a child. Yeah. As many of you know, I was diagnosed with PCOS in September 2021, literally 3 weeks after I said I do. And when the doctor told me that, they was like, yeah, the road to trying to conceive a child will be hard, but you will be able to have a child. So once I heard that, I researched a lot of things and I bought everything that I saw. I took every supplement. I went to the doctor and I paid for different procedures, just everything. Because I'm like, I want to have a child. It's time for me. I was, I was 26. Yes, I was 26. I'm like, okay, I want to have a child before I'm 30. Time is ticking. Let me, find something. Let me take this to see like would it boost my chances to get pregnant. So I did that for about 8 months, 8-9 months. Once April 2022 hit, I was like, I'm not about to keep doing this. I'm not about to keep doing this. Just take a break, because I was so stressed out. Like the bottom of my face was so broken out. Like I felt ugly. It was just a lot of stress on my body. And I was like, let me just stop taking all this stuff. Let me clean myself out. Let me focus on my husband. Let me focus on my health. When the time comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. So I had an appointment in July, and they confirmed that I was ovulating. I've never ovulated. So once I got that news, I was excited. I always had a period, but I would never ovulate. So I was like, oh my God. So I went home, I did the baby dance. And so in August, my period came on. I was a little bummed, but I was like, hey, we're getting somewhere. I never ovulated. I got ovulation. So when September came around, I noticed this change in my body. I was like, something is wrong. Like something is wrong. Like my breasts were so sore all the time. Like when I went downstairs, I literally had to hold them like this because I have big boobs. So they naturally just bounce. So when I went down the stairs, I had to hold them because they were so hard. And they was, just me thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. And when I was at work, I would fall asleep at the computer. When I came home, I went straight to sleep. I was just so tired. I'm like, something's wrong. So I went to my mom's house and she was looking at me and she was like, Queen, you pregnant? I was like, no, my period literally just went off. And she was like, you're pregnant. She was like, I know you're pregnant. I was like, okay, Mom. And so the next week my period came on. So I was like, see, I told you I'm not pregnant. She was like, girl, you still can get a period and be pregnant. So I'm like, oh well. So the following week, my cycle is off, but it was Jared's friend graduation party. So we went down there, and you know, I was drinking, but it wasn't just a lot. I just drank a little bit. And we actually spent the night down there. And when I woke up, I felt so sick. I felt so sick. I was like, what is going on? Jared was like, what is wrong with you? I was throwing up everywhere. I was like, I don't know. I said, I don't know what it was. Like, I said, every time I get a hangover or something, I said, I'm never drinking that. And I was like, I'm never drinking that again. Because I'm like, what is, like, I've never threw up like that. Like, I was just throwing up. Even on the way back up to Atlanta, back home, I was throwing up in the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I felt like I had alcohol poisoning. So I went to sleep for a little bit because my cousin baby birthday party was later on that day, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to go. I'm not going to be able to go. So I was like, maybe if I go home, I lay down for a little bit, I'll be all right. So I called my mama when I got home. I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come to the birthday party, you know, just tell him TT gonna, you know, look out for him later. She was like, girl, you pregnant, honey. That's why you throwing up like that. Once I woke up from my nap, I took a pregnancy test and it said no. I was kind of happy because I'm like, ooh, if I was pregnant, little stink tank was up in there getting drunk last night. So I was like, ooh, that's kind of happy about that. So the following week was my friend London's birthday, and we went out and I poured me a shot and I tried to drink it and I felt like I was about to throw up. I was like, oh my God. I was like, maybe I can't drink this no more, but I just, you know, I forced it down. I was like, oh no. So we was going to take another shot, and I kind of put a little, I just felt it. I was like, oh no. So the whole night I was acting like I was taking a shot and I was just throwing it inside in a little bucket. I was like, I can't. I said, I don't know what's going on. And then once we got back to her house, I was just so tired. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? I said, something not right. Something not right. I said, something's not right. And I was like, maybe I just can't drink no more. So I was like, well, my period's supposed to come on next week. I'll see. And I would never forget this day. It was October 15th. It was homecoming, and I had to work homecoming at my job. And I was just so tired, just swiping them students in. And I'm like, I was like, mm-mm. And then later on that night, Tiana and I was going to Macon to help Miss Burgess with a wedding. So something in my soul just said, Cornelius, go up there and take this pregnancy test. So I went upstairs, I took the pregnancy test. I was not thinking to see another line. So I had it sitting on the little counter. I was packing my bag. I wasn't even thinking nothing of it. So I went back to the bathroom and I looked down and I'm like, it's a faint line. And I've never, mind you, I've been taking pregnancy tests, that was a year then. I was like, I've been taking a pregnancy test. I've never seen a faint line. So I kind of got geeked and I ran downstairs. I was like, sus. I was like, Tia, look at this. Please tell me if I'm tripping or not. She was like, Suh, it's a faint line. It's a faint line. I was like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my God. Like, no. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, I'm pregnant. So we was like, on the way down there, we're going to stop at the Walmart and I'm going to get a pregnancy test. So we went to Walmart and I bought a 2-pack of the clear blue. So I went in the bathroom at Walmart and I thought I opened up the digital one, but I did not open up the other one, and there was the lines. Soon as I peed on that stick, that second line popped up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And I showed Tia, she was like, so you're pregnant. I said, oh my gosh. I said, ooh. I was like, I got this knot in my throat. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it finally happened. But I was scared too. So I'm just like, so once we got to Macon and we got to the hotel with Miss Burgess, I went to the bathroom to pee on the digital one. And it said pregnant. And I'm like, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Tion, I said, can you come in here and help me take this off? Just play. I was like, it's for real now. And then later on that night, I was getting these cramps. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, maybe because my period's supposed to come on. I don't know, but I was getting these cramps. I was like, ooh. It was on my right side. I was like, ooh, what is this? What is this? So we was helping her with the wedding. I had to sit down multiple times. I was like, oh, I can't do this. I was like, I have to take it a little slow. So after the wedding, we went back to the hotel. Tion left, and it was just me and Miss Burgess. So she was just looking at me. She kind of knew. So I was in the bed, but my stomach was hurting so bad. So I texted Tion. I was like, can I take the Tylenol? She was like, yes, so you can. She was like, just take one. So I took one because the pain was hurting so bad. I was like, oh my God. I said, ooh. I said, it was just hurting so bad. So once I got up that morning, the only thing on my mind was going to see my man. I took off that next day. So I went to Walmart. Once I got home, I got like this little bill and I put the pregnancy test inside a bag, and I went to Jared's job and I told him I was pregnant, and he was so happy. And we was just sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. Like, it was just a beautiful moment. And so I called the doctor and I was like, hey, I just found out I was pregnant. I would like to come in to, for you all to confirm the pregnancy. She's like, okay, you can come in 2 days. So I went in 2 days. They confirmed the pregnancy and I took some blood work. 2 or 3 days later, the doctor called and they was like, hey, your levels are very low. I think it's the HG, it was something, it was low. So they said they was going to prescribe me some progesterone to take to hopefully increase those numbers. So I took it, but I had another doctor's appointment because they wanted to check my levels, and we would like for you to come in Friday. So I was like, how is this going to boost my levels in a day? So I took the medicine, and when I went in Friday, the levels were up. So I was excited because I was crying because I looked on Google and they said, yeah, this may be a sign of a miscarriage or just everything. So I was just freaking out. So once I got to the doctor and they said, your levels are perfect, come back in 3 more days. We're going to test your levels again to see would it go up. So I went back to the doctor in 3 days and my levels were perfect. So I was excited. And at this time, I was 6 weeks pregnant. I was 6 weeks pregnant. So I found out I was pregnant at 5 weeks. I found out I was pregnant at 5 weeks. And by then I was 6. And I was just so excited, but I was just scared at the same time. They say moms have this intuition. Like, I wanted to be excited, but something would just in me say, something's not right, because I would just get this cramp in my right side. I was like, something's not right. So when I went on Google and I called the doctor, they was like, oh, it's just implantation or whatever, you should be fine. I was like, is it real bad? I was like, I mean, it hurts, but it's not like extremely painful. They was like, it's okay, just implantation. They was like, are you spotting? I was like, no. They was like, you're fine, that's normal in pregnancy. So I went to my friend's house. We was doing the Victoria Monet dance. No, we was doing 2 hands up. So I did it. And when I got up, I felt myself get a little wet. It was Halloween to be exact. I felt myself getting a little wet. So I went to the bathroom and I was spotting. And the only person that knew was my best friend, Janisha. So I was like, Janisha, I was like about to cry. I was like, I'm bleeding. She was like, just sit down. She was like, it's not a lot. You're fine. At my doctor's appointment, I told her that I was spotting. And she was like, are you still spotting? I was like, no. She was like, that's normal. And I was like, okay. She was like, we're going to schedule your ultrasound appointment. You'll be 8 weeks, almost 9 weeks, and we can get a clear view of the baby and the heartbeat. And I was like, thank you. because I was just stressing myself out the entire time. And Jared was like, can you please like stop, like just enjoy it, everything's gonna be fine. But I just knew something was just wrong. I just felt something was wrong. I don't know why, I just felt something was wrong. Maybe it was in my head, I don't know. I was watching these videos on miscarriages, and I'm just like, something is wrong. Because when I first found out I was pregnant, and before I even found out, I was sick as a dog. I was tired, boobs was hurting and everything. And so once I was about to go to my 8-week checkup, I wasn't tired like that, and my boobs was hurting, but they wasn't hurting like that. But like my symptoms was kind of going away, so I was like, oh my god. So I was kind of scared. It was just a lot. So November 11th, 2022 was my ultrasound date. So we go in and we do the ultrasound, and I was just scared because I was just preparing not to hear a heartbeat. So she went inside, she inserted it, and we saw the baby, and I'm like, and then I just heard the heartbeat, and I just started crying because I'm like, like, oh my gosh, like I was stressed out this whole time. My baby's okay. Like, you know, I was just getting excited, and Jared was getting excited as well. And I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I was just crying because I'm like, oh my gosh, my baby. Like, I was just looking at it, just crying. It looked like a little chicken wing. My baby looked like a little chicken wing, but the heartbeat was so strong. It was like 150. Like, I would never forget that number. It was like 150. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, we did it, we did it. And so she was like, something looks off. I was like, is that a bad thing? She was like, we're gonna let your doctor speak to you about that. Mind you, I've been watching all of these videos on YouTube with the miscarriage, and they said the doctor said the same thing. So my happiness went from here to here. So I'm like, oh, something's not right, something's not right for her to say that. So we go in the room, we're waiting. Doctor came in and she said, we reviewed your ultrasound pictures, and it looks like you're experiencing a ectopic pregnancy. But she said that I got this knot in my throat. Like, it was so hard. And I'm like, she was like, we're gonna send you next door to the hospital so they could, you know, I guess their ultrasound machine is better. I don't know. She was like, just for a second opinion. She was like, we already sent your stuff over. We need you to go over there ASAP, like now. So I'm like, it was just a lot. She was like, yeah, hurry up and go over there. They already know you're coming. We need them to check to see if, you know, everything is okay. We need a second opinion. So I'm like, of course, and Jared's with me. And so he's like, he don't know what's going on, but I do, because I've been looking up everything. So I got my bags, we went to the counter, and I had to confirm my appointment for that Monday. And I just lost it. And she was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I was like, my baby, they said, is it a topic? Like, it was just a lot. And I'm like, Jared was like, what's going on? I was like, what's wrong? I was like, something's wrong with the baby. He was like, we just heard the heartbeat. I was like, no, they said there's something wrong. There's something wrong. He was like, baby, just keep the faith, just keep the faith. And I'm just like, no, they're gonna take it. They're just gonna take it. They're just gonna take it. And I'm like, whew, I was losing it. Like, I just couldn't. I was like, oh my gosh. And so we get in the car, we go next door to the hospital. And as soon as I go in, it's like they was just, have you ever like seen a movie where they just, I don't know, like they rush the people in, and I'm like, it's just a lot. I'm like, whoa. So I go in, she was like, come on, we heard about you. She was like, I can't do it up here because the baby has a heartbeat. We only do it from 3 to 5 weeks. She was like, but you're further along, and the baby has a heartbeat, so I have to take you to the emergency room with them. So I'm like, okay. So they check me in, and I'm waiting for my name to be called, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just crying. So they call my name, and they was like, are you hurting? Are you bleeding? I was like, no, I'm not bleeding. I'm not cramping. I'm not nothing. Like, I'm not nothing. So they put an IV in. So I go to triage, and we are in triage for what? My doctor's appointment was at 7:30. I got to the hospital. My appointment was done. I went to the hospital. I got there, what, 8:30. I stayed in triage from 8:30 that morning to 6 p.m. that day. But so they came in, they wheeled me out, and I was like, can I please eat? Mind you, I didn't eat that morning because I was gonna eat after the appointment, but I couldn't eat. They was like, don't eat because we may have to do surgery. I was like, surgery? I was like, what's going on? They was like, yeah, you can't eat or drink. So I didn't drink or eat anything. So they wheeled me to the bed so I can get my ultrasound. And the lady was just so heartless. Like, she stick the probe inside of me, and she just looked, and she's like, oh no, oh no, And I'm like, I'm looking up at her. I was like, what does that mean? She's like, yeah, we won't be able to do anything with this. And I'm like, are you really like saying this to me right now? And I'm like, I said, can you not say that? I was like, that's kind of heartless. Like, I'm sitting here and you talking about, like there's nothing we can do with this. I'm like, huh? So I called Jared, and I'm like bald. Like, when she left out or whatever, I was waiting for someone to come get me to roll me back to my room. I called him. I was like, she just said it's nothing they could do, and she just said like the baby is basically gone. But I was like, can you please, like, before she left, I was like, can you please let me hear my baby heartbeat, like, again, like, please? So I heard the baby heartbeat, and she was like, yeah, the heartbeat is 160 beats. So I'm like, oh, my baby is fighting. And it was just a lot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I called Jared, and I was like, they can't do anything with the baby. They're gonna take the baby, they're gonna kill it. And it's just like, I was just losing it. So they rolled me back there, and I wait in triage another 4 hours. The doctor came in, and she was like, we reviewed your ultrasound, and it looks like you're experiencing a corneal ectopic pregnancy. And I'm like, what is that? She was like, it only happens in 2% of women. She was like, your baby is not in the tubes, but it's close. It got out the tubes, but it's close by the tubes. Actually, I have a paper that she drew. Give me a sec. So this is what she drew, and this is where the baby planted itself, and this is where my tube is. And so she was like, yeah, if you decide to keep this pregnancy, it's a possibility that you and the baby would die, because if the baby grows any bigger, it would rupture your uterus. You may bleed out and die. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So she was like, what would you want to do? She was like, would you like to take the pill, and I think it's called methotrexate, or would you like to have the surgery? And I asked her, like, what would the surgery be? She said, basically, we would go in, remove the baby. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Just give me the pill. But I didn't even want to do the pill, because I'm like, I literally just heard my baby heartbeat. It was just like, I just heard my baby heartbeat. It was just a lot for me to process. And so I was like, can I come back? She was like, I suggest you not leave. She was like, you could die. And that's all they kept saying. I'm like, oh gosh. So I was like, okay, I'll just get the shot and call it a day. When the doctor who came in to give me my shot, I was like, can you please look at this before you give me the shot, please? And she was like, yeah, I've never heard of this. She was like, does the baby have a heartbeat? I was like, yes, the baby has a heartbeat. She was like, I've never heard of this or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what to do. It was just like, I don't know what to do. I was all over the place. I was just trying to do anything to just save my baby. Is there something I could do? But they was like, if I leave this hospital, it's a possibility I could die. I was like, I don't want to die. So it's just like, it was just a lot. And so she gave me the shot. We were just sitting there. They was just so sweet. So I'm sitting there, I got the shot. Then another doctor come in. She was like, hey, we're going to admit you today and we're going to do the surgery. I'm like, so I said, I just got the shot, but the other doctor said I could choose between the shot and the surgery. So I chose the shot. And she was like, yeah, you're too far along and the baby has a heartbeat. It's a possibility that the shot will not work and your uterus rupturing and you'll bleed out and die. So I'm like, I'm just, me and Jared and I just sitting there like, this is a lot. So they rolled me into the recovery unit of labor and delivery. And I'm just seeing the babies and seeing the mom with their babies. And I'm like, and I'm just crying because I'm like, oh my gosh, this could have been me. This could have been me. This could have been me. So they rolled me in. And I was like, Jared, can you please go, can you please go get us something to eat? Because I literally have not ate a thing at this point, drunk anything. So we ate our food. 30 minutes after we ate our food, 2 doctors come inside of the room. And they was like, hey, we would like to do, I think it's an MRI or a scan of my uterus to see exactly where the baby implanted itself, because they said maybe my uterus is shaped like a heart or something. Maybe my uterus is shaped weird to why the baby implanted itself right there. So I'm like, if that's the case, I won't have to have the surgery, but you gave me this shot, and if I have a heart-shaped uterus, my baby's still gonna pass itself because you gave me this methotrexate. And she was just looking like she just looked like she wanted to cry. She looked like she wanted to cry because it was just like, I'm like, why didn't you do this first before you gave me that shot? If you know, if it was something else, like, it was just a lot. And I was just crying because I'm like, so they really just, my baby is in here fighting for its life. And there's a possibility you could have gave me an MRI and I could still have my baby. And it was like, don't eat, don't drink anything. So I was just up the whole night. I was crying. It was a lot. So once the morning came, I was frustrated because she was like, you're going to be the first one. The lab opened up at 8. You'll be the first one. I didn't get my test. I didn't get the MRI done until 12 o'clock. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then once I went inside, it was a part of the test where you like get hot. And I feel like I was about to pass out and throw up. And I was like, I get it. I can't eat or drink. But at the end of the day, it's literally been 24 hours and I have not ate or drank anything. And I'm still pregnant. Like, it was just a lot. So I did the test. I go back. Jared had to leave me because he had a bartending gig, because he was the only person booked. Like, if he had like another person, he would just give it to him, but it was nobody to take that gig. So he had to leave, and I'm in the room, I'm waiting, and the doctor came in and she was like, yeah, we're prepping your room for surgery now. And she was like, we looked at the scans and we're gonna have to remove a piece of your uterus. So this is where she drew this. This is when she drew that. So they're gonna cut this piece of my uterus out, this little wedge where the baby at. Cut this piece out where the baby at and remove that tube. So at this point, I'm getting frustrated and angry because I was like, in these 24 hours, I have had 4 doctors talk to me and told me 4 different things. And it's too much. It's too much on me. The first time, the lady said I had the option to do the shot or the surgery. I do the shot. Another doctor come in and said, oh, we're not, we're gonna roll you up. We're actually just gonna do the surgery to be on the safe side. Then 2 other doctors come in and say, hey, we're going to do an MRI to check to see if your uterus is heart-shaped. Then now you're in here saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead with the surgery and remove a piece of your uterus with your tube. Mind you, the whole time they never said anything about removing my tube. You telling me that you have to take a piece of my uterus and my right fallopian tube. So it was just a lot. I was crying. Jared was on speaker. He's crying. And I'm like, baby, please pay attention to the road, because he's driving at this point. I don't want nothing to happen to him. And I'm just like, it's just a lot. And then my sisters and my mom came literally after she walked out. And they was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, they just told me that they had to take a piece of my uterus and my right fallopian tube. And I was like, huh? I was like, yes, they just telling me different stuff and I just cannot take it. It's just a lot. It's a lot. So we sitting down talking a little bit, and I was like, are you ready? I was like, yes, I'm ready. And they roll me back. They give me my IV. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, I'm out of it. I just don't know. It's just like, it's so much on my brain. I'm just sitting there like this. They was like, are you okay, ma'am? I didn't say nothing. I was just sitting there. I'm just like, I can't believe this happening to me. I'm sitting there. They putting my IV in. Mind you, I'm afraid of needles. I didn't move. I didn't budge. No, nothing. I'm just sitting there looking like, just like this the whole time. And they was like, are you okay, ma'am? Are you okay? And I'm like, I didn't say a word. So they came in. They was like, are you ready? I was like, yeah. So they rolled me to the back. And I remember them putting me on the other bed. And I don't remember nothing. When I woke up, I felt my eyes like this, opening up like this. And I hear somebody say, Quinice, you need to breathe. You need to breathe. I'm like, I am breathing. And then I just blacked out. I don't even remember nothing. But I remember opening up my eyes again, but I'm rolling down the hall. And I'm like, oh. And then I opened up my eyes again. I saw my best friend Janisha, because she came down while Jared was gone to his little gig or whatever. And I just see her. And she's like, hey, friend. And I'm like, she's trying to talk to me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm asleep. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and I just remember crying. And she was like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And I was like, my baby's gone. My baby's gone. It's gone. It's out of me. It's gone. And I'm like crying like, whew. Ooh, y'all. Ooh. Give me a second. And when I woke up from the surgery, I just felt this pain. Even though the doctors was coming in literally every 3 hours giving me medicine, I couldn't even really sleep like that, because every 3 hours they was coming in to give me medicine. But when I woke up that morning to try to get up to pee, oh baby, that pain, I said, oh my gosh. And I guess I was using my stomach muscles and I wasn't supposed to, because I just literally had surgery right there. I don't know. That pain is something that I can't even describe. And I'm like, if this what a C-section is, and I want to have at least 3 kids, I'm like, it's looking real one-ish. Because I'm like, I can't. And I tried to get up and I'm like, I was just crying. And I tried to walk. Oh my gosh, I could not walk. And I'm like, oh. So I tried to sit down on the toilet. That was just, that recovery process wasn't it. And so the nurse came in. She was like, ma'am, you're going to get up and, walk to get some of that gas out. And my stomach was so huge. It was so huge. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I already had a bump anyway, because I was already 2 months. But on top of that gas in my stomach, I looked like I was about 6-7 months. And I'm like, oh. It was just like that pain. And I tried to get up and walk and I just couldn't. And then my cycle came on. And I'm like, I can't take this. And I was bleeding so heavy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I would bleed like a week later, but I bleed instantly. As soon as I went to the bathroom, I was bleeding. And I'm like, I was just going through it. And so we stayed in the hospital about 3-4 days. And once I got home, oh no, I was really scared to go home because I'm like, who's gonna help me? Like, even though I had Jared and his job let him get, you know, some days off or whatever, I'm like, I don't have the hospital bed. That hospital bed was easy for me to get out. I have upstairs. Those stairs is a lot to walk up. I said, what I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna do? And so once I got home, that pain just intensified. I was like, maybe because when I was at the hospital, they was giving me my meds every 3 hours. But when I got home, I'm like, oh gosh, I just felt like crap. And then I was like, okay, I want to take a shower. I got in that shower. I was extremely cold. I was shivering. I'm like, what is going on? I said, Jared, I don't know what's going on. I was just shaking. I could not stop. And I was like freezing. My nose was running, everything. So we went back to the hospital. They admitted me. And come to find out, I had COVID. Yeah, I caught COVID inside the hospital. And they didn't even test me for COVID while I was in there either. So I was just sitting there. They gave me some fluids. I think I was dehydrated too. They gave me some fluids. I felt better. I said, ooh, that was the best. I was like, I need that because I couldn't. I felt weak. But once they gave me those fluids while I was in the hospital, I felt like a new person. And when I got home, it was still, that pain still wasn't. And then I was constipated. I was taking a gas pill, but it wasn't helping. Jared had to give me animals. It was just a lot. Like, that recovery process, I thought I wasn't gonna make it. I really thought I wasn't gonna make it. But after that week lit up, I felt good. I was able to move. I was walking, doing a little something. And then I just felt like I just felt bad because I had a wedding party to do. I had to cancel them because of the surgery. I had people birthday makeup I was doing. I had to cancel everybody. I just felt so bad. Oh, I felt bad. I felt so bad. Now that I'm 4 months post-procedure, I went to the doctor last month and we did a follow-up, and I actually went to get my other tube checked to see was it blocked or anything. It was fine. And when I went to the doctor for her to tell me, you know, my results, she was like, even that tube with an ectopic pregnancy was fine. I didn't see any scar tissue when I removed it, no anything. She said, I just don't understand why. She said, I don't know why the baby stopped right there and not, you know, this was the baby, this the uterus. He only had that little piece of gold and he stopped, you know, right there. She said, I don't know. She was like, but you can and will be able to, you know, conceive again. She's like, but your chances are, you know, slimmer, like how most people have 12 months to conceive because they have both tubes. I only have one tube, so I only have 6 months out of the year to try to get pregnant with this one tube. And then I asked my doctor as well. I was like, because I looked on Insta, mind you, I was like, when I was in the doctor, when it was happening, I was so blank. My mind froze. I was just like, have y'all seen the new episode of Power, how Monet was acting when Zeke died and she didn't want to talk to nobody, she just looked, that's how I was acting. I didn't want to talk. I was just out of it. But now that I'm able to process everything and look up, girl, I looked up everything. So I was like, so why did y'all give me the C-section when y'all can do laparoscopy? And they was like, well, the baby, it planted itself too deep down. It was like where it was positioned, you had to have it that way instead of laparoscopy. I was like, okay, that was my first question. I was like, so with my other fallopian tube, like reach over to the other side to grab the egg to, you know, to the other side so I can get pregnant? And she was like, yeah, it can. But she's like, but in your case, your eggs swim too slow. She was like, that's why you had the ectopic pregnancy in the first place, because your egg swim too slow. She was like, if the other fallopian tube grabbed the egg from over there, it's not going to make it to the place that it needs to be in time to be fertilized. So I thought, okay. And I was just asking, you know, I was asking a lot of questions. I was like, yeah, I did my research. She was like, oh, I can tell. I was like, I feel better now. Now that she was like, yeah, you could. She was like, you're healthy. She's like, everything looks good. She was like, have you been having your cycles? I was like, yeah, my cycles came. She even tested my ovulation. I'm ovulating. She's like, wait till the end of the year, because they told me that I had to wait a year to try to get pregnant again, so my uterus can heal all the way. And she was like, just give it a year. She's like, you could try again. She's like, I honestly feel like you can get pregnant. She said, you got pregnant the first time, you get pregnant this time. And I was like, okay, you know, that kind of helped my spirit a little bit more. And even though I've been looking on YouTube again, people say, oh, it took me 3 years after my tube was removed to get pregnant and stuff like that. And it's just like, I'm in a place now where I just want to just get my mind together, get my body. Like, if it happens, it happens. Because I honestly didn't think I was going to get pregnant at all. But the fact that it did, that kind of like got me geeked up, and then it just went away. Jared and I, we have our days. You know, what we went through was very traumatic. But the fact that we have each other, it makes it so much easier to get through. Because if I didn't have him through those times, I don't know what I would do. And I feel like our marriage became stronger during that time. Like, I saw a different side of him. I always applaud my husband for how he treat me. But during that time, I saw another version of him. And it's just like, it made me fall in love with him even more. I didn't even think I could fall in love with him any more than I already am. And it's just, I just give him my all. That's why in that vlog, I was actually 2-3 weeks out when I did that self-care day for him a couple of months back, because he needed it. My man was there for me. Like, whew, I love you, baby. I love you. I love you. And I know this trying to conceive journey would be hard for us, because not only do I have one tube, I'm also, you know, suffering from PCOS. But I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm just going to live life. When it happens, it happens. Just like it did this time. It sprung up on me. I wasn't even looking for it. I started stressing about it, and it came. And that's what I'm going to do now. Thank you all for listening to my story. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to your girl channel. And if you have any advice on some things you've taken to help you conceive, please list them below. I'm open to any advice. But until next time, I will see you all later.